Welcome into the official. We've got a great show for you this week, as always, of course. But this week we're just going to dive into a bunch of players. I know that's what most of you all want. You just want to know players and how good they are, and where you should put them on your mock draft lists as we head in. So no real theme this week, just grades, I guess. We're going to talk about the players, what we like about them, their grades for us, and then going to do three each. So we're going to have 9 players for you to look at. And then, of course, go over the most recent commitments that are fantasy relevant. And that'll be the show for this week. So welcome into the official. Welcome, gentlemen. Glad to have you on the stream here. We've got the full team, as we've had for the last few weeks. We've been pretty much back up to speed. Before we get started, if this is your first show, if you just happen to catch us somewhere on YouTube, our parent website, campuscanda.com, is kind of the go-to catch-all for all of your fantasy football needs, whether it's college fantasy, redraft, all the way to NFL Dynasty and everything in between, such as Campus to Canton leagues, Debbie information. We've got rankings, we've got tools, data tools, and other things to help you manage your college fantasy or pro fantasy leagues. And so go to campustocanda.com, check us out. There's a variety of subscription plans you can get starting as low as $2.99. We also just recently released our 2023 freshman guide. That's a big PDF, well over 100 pages of all of your freshman breakdowns, rankings, everything from us. So go catch that if you do nothing else. And without further ado, let's get started. We've got a show for you today that's really just bread and butter. We are getting into ranking and grading these players already for 2024. We're just going to go over players, what our grade is, what we like about them, period. And we do have some clips. So if you're listening on the podcast feed, go check us out on YouTube. This is published as a YouTube on Thursday mornings and as a podcast on Saturday mornings. So you get a little bit delay there. And we do try to include clips because it's nice to see these players on the field when we're talking about them. So if you watch on YouTube, that's the preferred way because we have visual supplements for you when we're talking about these guys. So that's enough about me. Let's go ahead and start. Matt, you are right next to me on the screen here, so we're just go right to you. Demond Williams, who is a quarterback, I believe, out of Arizona, 5'11", 180, so a little bit smaller, but I'm imagining he's very exciting. I'm going to play the clip, and you just talk us through this guy.
Yeah, he's committed to Ole Miss already. He's the on-3 composite QB 15, which is all right. He's mostly being knocked for the size, obviously 5'11", 180. That's not overly big for a quarterback. But, we did just see Bryce, 5'11", 196 or whatever, just get drafted first overall. So that shouldn't be a total Devi stock killer, I think. But he's a really fun player. We were able to get him over 21 miles per hour. Very athletic guy. If he wanted to, he could probably be a pretty incredible slot receiver. 68 completion percent, 23-1 touchdown interception ratio, 700 rushing yards. So looking pretty great there. And I think he's just a reliable, backyard style football player. He's great on the run, great moving around the pocket. Right as you can see right there on that clip, he can hang in there in the pocket and deliver one downfield. His arm isn't huge. I'd probably say it's a bit below average for a college, quarterback going to the next level. I think with a great, offensive coach like Lane Kiffin, he's going to be able to play to his strengths. And, I can imagine a pretty fun offense with, him and Riscano and Judkins back there. I think there'd be a pretty fun rushing offense. So I think there's lots to like there, especially as him as a potential CFF stud.
I don't know if you got a velocity over expected. The arm looks kind of live here on these clips, but you don't think it's that great?
No, we haven't done any of them for the class yet. But no,
Okay.
I mean maybe it's a little bit better than I'm giving him credit for, but I don't think it's it's not a benefit at least. It's not a strength.
Sure. Okay, got it. No, that's fine. Yeah, definitely hyper athletic. You can tell that right away. All right, moving on to David. You've got first on this list here, Jordan Marshall out of Ohio. He's a running back. Why do you like him?
Yeah, he's headed to Michigan. For me, I just thought he was a natural runner with like good vision. Um, he kind of uses like the right move at the right time kind of guy. Pretty good change of direction, pretty good feet. Um, he'll show some power here. You can see he's hard to take down, so he'll get gang tackled and push the pile pretty well. You see he's hard to take down.
Those guys are coming up the top rope
Yeah,
there.
so everyone's jumping on there. There's another one here, another play here where he kind of he finishes runs really well, which I like. Coaches love that, a tough runner like that.
Dog.
Not a lot of receiving stats, but you see here just on a screen pass, he snags that with one hand, gets upfield real quick. It's just like a smart player, a solid player. He's not like an uber athlete, I don't think, although he did just run a 10.74 100 meter, which is good. But he's got, like a 20-foot long jump. So not like the most explosive player, I guess, but, pretty good build up speed. And I think we'll see what he does as a senior. I want to see a little more pass catching, but for the most, and then, going to Michigan, obviously it's a very good strength and conditioning program there. So I think he gets the 210 pretty easily. And, a good college running back with, maybe like a day 3 NFL type guy.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you're right. I like the description, the right move at the right time for him. I think that fits well. And that last clip, the last play on there was another reception. So there's 2 on there, Some guys have none for like years in high school. So, I'll take that. All right, I'm going to move and go to Tovani Mizell. I believe he's related to Aiden Mizell, the guy who just went to Florida. I believe cousins. I don't think it's brother.
Cousins.
So Tovani Mizell, but he plays running back. And I'll tell you what I liked about him. The top speed is not really there. I believe we have him at 20.4 in the database, something like that. So kind of, good. Basically, that's P5, what you would expect. It's not anything that's above and beyond. But look here, that's a nice over-the-shoulder grab on the receiving game. There's multiple clips of him lining up in a slot, doing real routes, downfield catches, and things like that, which you obviously love. At least I definitely love. And then as far as his running ability, he's like I said, the long speed is not going to blow you away, but he runs low to the ground. He's got a really big lower half. He's got thick thighs that he kind of runs with a little bit of a crouch and kind of explodes out of that crouching position. A lot like a guy I really liked who does that, Trevante Citizen, who everyone's seen him play very much because he's been injured for Miami, but he ran low to the ground with a crouch and then could just explode out of that. And you kind of see this here with Mizell. He also utilizes some different moves. He's got a spin move. He's got some other things that he does to break tackles and keep the ball moving forward. I would say he's a pretty north-south guy as well. 6'1", 193. You'd like to see him get heavier, but that frame probably can handle it. I mean, in the college weight room, it looks like he could get to 210 probably. So you're looking at 210, can receive, can line up in the slot. The only thing is that breakaway speed, he may not have it. Although he is, I think, timed at like a 4.3 at a camp. It's his pinned tweet, and he's got a 4.3 listed, but 20.4 on the field. And when you watch him, he doesn't quite seem to translate that 4.3 speed, but maybe there's a little untapped potential there. So I kind of like him. I gave him a 71.7. We didn't say our grades. I'll throw that in there. So he's a 71.7 for me, which is just in that tier 2, which is usually anyone in the 70s is going to be a tier 2 for us. 80s is tier 1, and below that is tier 3 and below. Damon Williams for Matt was 69.7, so that's right about tier 2 on the borderline there. And then Jordan Marshall was a 77 for David, so high tier 2, flirting with tier 1 there. So just we'll say that for the other players. Matt, Christian Clark out of Arizona, 6 foot, 195, looks like a running back. He's a 23 on the composite, so kind of down the line, but still, I believe, a 4-star. And why do you like Clark here for us?
Yeah, I think of all the running backs in this class, he has one of the more well-rounded games. I think he's definitely one of the better lateral movers, especially at his size, borderline. I think one of the services has him listed at 200 pounds already. So he's got that. He moves great, 21 miles per hour. He's very physical too. On top of that, and very good receiver too. He lines up wide regularly. The knock is he didn't have a lot of bulk production last year. He kind of split carries with the other back they have. 737 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns, 7 yards per carry, and then he had 37 receptions, 368 yards, and 5 receiving touchdowns. So he at least did match up with some good receiving production on top of it. The lack of bulk production does worry me a bit, but I mean Alabama's offered him, Georgia's offered him, USC's offered him, Texas has, Oregon. So I don't think they're worried about it. So I'm not going to be, and I'm definitely going to rely on the talent there. I think he's kind of going to be my Dontavius Braswell of this class. I think they have kind of similar skill sets.
That was a big catch there.
Yeah, he plays a good bit of safety too. I think there was a couple highlights in there. Comes down the field, hits hard. So I really like his skill set. I'd just like to see him, put up a lot more bulk production next year. Or maybe even at this stage, it might not even be a bad thing considering, less wear and tear on his body. So who knows? That's just this is me trying to spin it into a positive there. But
yeah, I mean, the tape looks good. You'd like to see 1 year of dominance, of course, but we'll see what his senior year looks like. You gave him a 74.6.
Oh, I forgot to say the grade.
That is not bad. That's okay. So that's right in the middle of tier 2. I mean, just for our listeners, I would say every position group may have 2, maybe 3 guys in the 80s when we get done with this. So
not
cracking
the
that 80, no, but cracking an 80 is really, really good. So if you're in mid 70s, if you're even low 70s, you're probably still good. I mean, we had guys we quote unquote liked last year quite a bit that still wound up in the 60s for us. So don't let that deter you. Even if a guy comes out in the 60s for us, we may still really like him and see potential, but just couldn't grade it the way they are right now. So 74.6 is still very good. Nate Frazier, David, this is a guy who I think I'm going to end up being pretty high on, out of California, Mater Dei, big time high school where Bryce Young's from. And you gave him, well, I'll save it to the end, but tell us about Nate Frazier.
Yeah, so you see there, he's filled out quite a bit. That's from a recent camp, but he's 208 pounds at this point. He ran a 10.7. You can see he's pretty cut up too. So this is a guy that's filling out, getting much stronger, has some pretty good lifting numbers. But the contact balance stood out to me, and the acceleration kind of jumps out. So he's one of the higher end athletes at the position for this class, I would say. As far as size, speed goes. He's just a little bit of a mystery at this point. I like he turns the corner and kind of squirts through the side there.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a north-south, not a whole lot of nonsense. Pretty good feet though, and he can make guys miss. But generally speaking, he's probably gonna try to run through guys. He plays a little high here, but he still is able to break tackles. But you wish you could have made that guy miss. But it's a small sample. He's actually split. He actually had less carries than Jordan Davison at Mater Dei, and he's one of the highest ranked guys in the 2025 class.
So you got quite a backfield there.
Yeah, so he averaged over I think 11 yards per carry or something like that against really good competition. It's just got to see more. Don't know what he's going to do as a pass catcher. He only had 4 catches for 62 yards. So this class is interesting. We're looking for guys that have high level athleticism and high level tape, and it's tough to get the combination at this point. So he's more in the bucket of a running back with high level athleticism. Just want to see more tape. So I'm interested to see what he does as a senior. And my grade for him is a .757, which honestly I haven't. This is just my first time through. I haven't gone. My grades haven't really gone with a hyper critical lens at this point. I'm just these could lower as well. So, but that's where he's at right now. Could have a tier 2 guy, mostly on his size, athleticism.
All right. Yeah. I like Frazier, he's looks really good, but if he's splitting time or losing time to a guy younger than him, I mean, that is an issue. We don't like to see that. but he does look good
I
on
feel
tape.
like it's a little bit different in Matter Day.
Maybe it may be, yeah. And we saw two guys, Don Bosco, another California powerhouse that Caton Hauser split time with Pierce Clarkston, and they both ended up going P5. So and we'll see what they do in college. So maybe these loaded high schools we can give them a little pass. My next guy is Aaron Bubba Hampton, friend of the show. He came on last year when he was just a rising junior. Now he's got his junior tape on film. And he just looks really exciting. I mean, he's a playmaker. He's got yak. He's, definitely all phases type of guy. Punt returns, receiving, plays corner, really good corner. And I think for a while, he's listed as an athlete. And for a while, he was going to, the thought was maybe cornerback, although I think it's shifted more now to playing offense. And his major, he's down to two schools that you can't really be mad at, Alabama and Texas. But yeah, you can see here mostly it is deep routes, although that was really good, breaking off that stem there and just getting short with the huge separation because the DB had to respect. But otherwise, it's a lot of long runs. Most of his routes are deep routes, and so I didn't give him a ton of route versatility there in his grading. But the athleticism is there, and certainly just the make you miss and hyper agility is available to him when he catches the ball. So I think he's a very exciting player. And whether or not Texas can keep him in state and his other options, Alabama, really tells you, what kind of thoughts the recruiting people have on this guy. He's got everybody after him and nailed it to two very, very prestigious schools. And so I think he's pretty interesting. I got him 788. That's pretty high. When I went back and looked, I was like, man, that's probably high. I may need to figure out a way to just knock that down a little. Feels too high for him, but he's an exciting player. But yeah, his route versatility probably needs to be knocked. Maybe I'll go back and take a look at that. So that's me. And then we'll move to, let's see, last one for Matt, Nitarian Tuggle, a wide receiver. I think he's out of IMG, so out of Florida, but maybe not originally Florida. And we'll roll the clip here.
Yeah, he's actually from Indiana. He's transferring to IMG for this season. And he's 6'3", 190. Really, really explosive yak player, as you can see here if you're watching on YouTube. I mean, ex-wide receiver built, wide receivers like this, they generally don't show off this kind of lateral ability after the catch, in my opinion. I think he's pretty special in that regard. I think that's why he's now committed to Georgia. They really went after him pretty hard there. He does have a few flaws to his game. He's not, the most refined receiver. I saw him in camp settings. He did look a little bit better there. And, going to IMG, maybe he tunes himself up a little bit more in that area. His hands at times, they have been a little bit inconsistent too. Definitely more of a body catcher, so that's something he's going to have to work on too. But I think the upside is too tantalizing. We don't have really any combine style testing on him, but just watching his tape, you can very clearly see his movement skills are pretty.
Yeah, most guys right there catch it and fall down or go out of bounds. I mean, the fact that he turned that upfield and juked a guy on that long catch was something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the movement skills super, super high end for a player who's built big enough already to go to the league. So I just hope Georgia doesn't waste him. We'll see how that pans out, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. This guy's movement skills reminds me a little bit of first-round wide receiver Quentin Johnston, who is a big, huge X, who also, took jet sweeps and was able to kind of look at agile. I mean, he even looks more spry. You would expect that out of a guy who's 5'10".
Composite, wide receiver 54 right now for on 3.
Very low, so, very low. Interesting guy.
Definitely a value right now.
I would agree with you, yeah. All right, David. Aeneas Williams out of Missouri, 5'10", 195 running back, I think 19 on the composite, but you wanted to highlight him.
Yeah, the big thing with him is receiving. You see here, he can over the shoulder, good tracker there. They pretty much use him all over the formation. So he is one of the better receivers. He already has over a little one-hander there. He's got over 2,000 yards receiving for his career so far. So, wow. He's not playing good competition. He plays in Missouri. His SOS was -5 or something like that. So he's demolishing some pretty bad competition. But he does have he's committed to Notre Dame. He does have offers from Alabama and Ohio State and some other big schools. So I would say decent size. He's pretty sturdy looking, pretty well built. He's got some wiggle, makes guys miss in the open field there, and then nice little stiff arm action. So he plays strong. He plays tough. Hard runner. Pretty good change of direction. His long speed's okay. I mean, I think we did get him around 21. I would say for a 4-star guy, he's like an average athlete. Like, he's not super bursty. You can, his track stats, like, he has 11-0, 100 meter, like a 20-foot long jump. It's not anything real impressive, really. But I think his biggest appeal is his receiving. From some of the reports I read, he's a pretty good pass protector as well. So just kind of does a little bit of everything. Some people there's a lot of parallels, obviously, to Kyron Williams. They have a similar game, and they're both from Missouri, both similar sized, both kind of just like, good in all areas, but nothing special. And you know what I mean? So solid player with a little bit of NFL potential. Also, like,
if you can do all the dirty work and stuff, you might find yourself in a role, pass catching and pass blocking and pass catching. Two good combos there. All right, so I'll finish this out for our 9, and then we will get to the recent commitments. I got a guy named Brandon Hood out of Eagles Landing, I think, Christian Academy in Georgia. He's 5'9", 195, so kind of smaller, but pretty thick there. And he is running back 36 on the composite, but I really, really like this guy. Running back slot right away tells you you're interested in watching this. He's listed as running back slot. And then, this first play is actually, he's the one who's going to catch this guy, kind of that DK Metcalf type play where the guy was about to be a pick six and he chases him down. He does seem to have really good long speed, but here he is as his primary position running back. I think he's smooth. I think he makes cuts and continues upfield really well, which is something that's hard to really quantify, but some guys just make moves and are always moving upfield while they're making moves. And I feel like kind of weaving and just always advancing the ball. I feel like he was like that. That's a great toe drag, one-handed or a jumping catch on the corner of the end zone there. He lines up in the slot a lot. He's definitely going to be a good receiver. And I just think he's a smooth, quick, very twitchy runner, which I really like. Here's another slot. This one's kind of just a long, almost a post. And he's just like drifting out there, and then it's a bad pass, but he somehow comes down with it in triple coverage. I just think he's going to be a really interesting all-purpose weapon, and already 5'9.5-ish, 195. He can get to, by the end of it all, maybe grows a half inch, gets to 5'10, 205, 210. That is great, I think, for a running back. And I don't think we have real testing numbers on him yet, so the athleticism confirmed is a little bit in question, but he got to a 79.2 for me. That's because I gave him really high receiving marks, and I just think he's very fast, but if we get some testing numbers and, it's not what it looks like on tape, that could fall a little bit, of course. Also, we didn't do the best job. We'll get better at this. We didn't do the best job with the grade. So Tuggle was a 75.1 for Matt, and Aeneas Williams was a 74.2 for David. So most of these guys were middle of the 70s for us, with a few high-end 70s, and Desmond Williams was just under 70 at 69.7 for us this week. But those are 9 names to go ahead and file away. We like all of them for the most part, and keep an eye on these guys as they hopefully continue to gain in status as this cycle goes on. We always like, to know about a guy before they get bigger. And if you're in a league like the program, which I know Matt is, I don't know if David's in, but we're going to start recruiting, quote unquote, recruiting these guys, as early as August, before final rankings come out, before people are making a lot of lists. So for us, knowing these guys and getting those bids in right away is really important. So if you're in a league like that, it's never too early to know these names. Commitments. I'm going to go through a couple that don't really move the needle. Dylan Messman, a 4-star TE going to Louisville, but David would write him off because his b-ball clips have no dunks. It's all layups. He doesn't look that explosive on the basketball court. He's got hands, some body control, really appears to be a lukewarm athlete. So moving on from Mesman, I don't think there's a lot there. Corey Smith, I know David mentioned he maybe have something to say about it, or Matt, so I'll let you guys take him. He's a 4-star running back who committed to Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have super nice things to say. I mean, out of Wisconsin, going to Penn State, loaded backfield already. They got Quentin Martin in the same class. Tinier running back, just ran 11.4 200 meter this track season. Not great, especially size adjusted at 175, listed at 165 in some places. So maybe he moves to receiver, and then you could be a little bit more interested. But at the moment, not a guy I'm really into.
He looked pretty electric and shifty to me, but I didn't realize he had an 11.4. That's pretty bad. But maybe it's more a short area
competition.
Yeah, and he is definitely small and appears small, even on tape. Isaiah Canyon, 4-star wide receiver, going to Notre Dame. David, do you have any opinions? This is your team.
Yeah, I mean, it's this is the type of guy we like to recruit. Notre Dame. As a Notre Dame fan, I'm pretty familiar with these types of guys. He's kind of like he'd be like the Braylon James of last class, essentially. Like, apparently he ran a 4.5 140 at Notre Dame's camp and measured in with 10.5-inch hands. So he's got some monster hands, apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, not a lot of nuance, just kind of a deep threat, kind of run down the sideline and jump up and catch it. That's
all right. Okay, Zion Kearney, Matt, you mentioned him before the show. 4-star wide receiver headed to Oklahoma. You like anything special about this guy?
Yeah, I mean, apparently I like him a lot more than you based on these
my notes
here. Yeah,
they weren't very complimentary.
No, they weren't. I think he's pretty good. He's reportedly very fast. I mean, he's at a TCU camp, I believe. The times range from a 4.29 to a 4.32, I believe. So pretty crazy 40 time testing. Probably not that fast, but probably 4.4 guys at least, 4.4 guy at least, at 200 pounds already, which is super impressive. Plays in a pretty crowded wide receiver room, so he didn't really pop off in production last year. I think he will step up next year, and he's a really really good player after the catch. He's kind of a low ADOT guy, bubble screen, a lot of that kind of stuff. But I think he has a super high upside, and Oklahoma's not a bad spot. So. Definitely someone I'm going to keep a look at.
Yeah, Jackson Arnold. I think that offense is promising. I like any weapons going to Oklahoma. All right, so then I'll just take both tight ends here. Trey'Dez Green, a 4-star tight end going to LSU. Recent commitment. He's probably a P5 basketball recruit. Definitely has dunks for days. Some of his dunks might make our dunk list by the end of the season. I mean, there's a few in traffic that are pretty nasty. He's like a full-blown 6'6", 240-plus guy already. Just massive. I mean, massive on tape, both basketball and football. You can tell he's huge. Just length, hands, kind of as a Megatron of the things that we like for a tight end recruit. The only thing I would say at this point is limited blocking tape. I do like to see a guy who can get in three-point stance and actually block down on the line a little bit for just to get on the field, really. But, I mean, they could use him out wide or whatever as a receiver probably pretty quickly. So really interesting guy. We'll see what his senior tape looks like. Maybe he'll put some blocking there. Again, I know this is a fantasy thing, but my thing about blocking is, like, you're going to have to endear yourself to the coaches. You're going to have to get on the field. You can't just be a split out wide unless you're, that good, which I don't know, but like Deuce, who's going to play baseball probably by the time it's all said and done. We'll see. He's no Rapplier, but he's massive. I mean, he's going to be a guy that I think we all kind of like just because he's humongous, but they also have another awesome, huge wingspan guy in Kamorian Pimpton from this year at LSU. So we'll see how that all shakes out. So those are your commitments. Those are your 9 guys with a deep dive. And this has been The Official. Gentlemen, thanks for joining. We'll see you all next time.